Hi, and welcome back to Free for All Father's Day Friday on Focal Point. Came across an interesting story here, and this has relevance for my production team. My production team, the Focal Point team, consists of 4 people. It's me. Rob Gardner is my director. Jeff Reed is my producer. Walker Wildman does research, and he's our call screener. So there's 4 of us right here working together to get this program, bring this content to you. Now, here's a story from CNS News. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is a federal agency now. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that at any given moment, about a quarter of American adults are mentally ill. So what that means, there's 4 of us right here. One of us is crazy. And maybe the second hour will, maybe Rob says it's me. Rob, I think it's you. I think it's Rob. My vote is for Rob here. So anyway, maybe the second hour we'll just take a vote on who you think is the mentally ill person among the 4 of us. It does say here, goes on to say that 50% of all U.S. adults will develop at least one mental illness during their lifetime. And this is spooky in kind of light of this NSA surveillance scandal we've been talking about. The fact sheet also notes that the authors of a 2011 CDC mental health surveillance report pointed out that currently no surveillance efforts at the national or state level are directed toward documenting anxiety disorders. The authors thus call for initiating national level anxiety. Oh my gosh. National level anxiety disorder surveillance activities. So now they don't want to just kind of surveil your phone records. They don't want to surveil your email correspondence. Now they want to surveil your moods. This is an anxiety disorder surveillance national level deal. We'll get the NSA right on that. And Debbie, I just got a text from Debbie. She wants to know if she gets to vote. And my team is laughing in there because they know how she's going to vote. So the answer is, babe, no, you don't get to vote on this deal. And, Deb says, what about me? She's thinking about the fact that over the course of a lifetime, 1 out of every 2 people is going to be mentally ill. And she's saying, hey, it's not me. So there's 2 of us. So do the math. Well, let's take one more phone call. 888-589-8840, number to call if you want to join the program. We're kind of devoting phone calls today to individuals who would like to take a moment to honor their fathers. Some fond memory you have about your father, some nice thing you want to say about your dad, something you learned from him, something he modeled for you, something he taught you, some fond memory you have of time spent with him. Give us a call, 888-589-8840. Let's go to Francis in Waco, Texas. Francis, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. Talk to me about your dad.
Well, my dad, I made this deal when I was like in the 9th grade, and no one knew what it was. It looked kind of like a jackrabbit with his head cut off. And I gave it to him for Father's Day right after that. I gave it to him for Father's Day, and I entered it in the fair one year and won 2nd place on it. And they took a picture of him because I wrote into the paper about the weirdest thing I gave my dad. And they put a picture of him in the paper, and he thought it was going to be a little bitty one. And it turned out to be a great big one. And I think he was really thrilled about it being big.
Oh, cool.
But I lost him in 1975, so I got that deal back.
Yeah, well, that's a nice memory to carry with you.
Yeah, and he always told us that when we was right and when we was wrong about something, I didn't listen very good sometimes. Mm-hmm. But I always loved him a lot.
Well, good for him. Well, thank you, Francis, for sharing that story, and that picture can be a real keeper. Thank you, Francis. I appreciate that. 888-589-8840. So we'll take some more of your calls as the program develops. And Jeff, before we get to some other content, you and I were talking this morning about a story. I mean, this is bizarro mundo to me. A story out of Japan about a new fetish among teenagers. Now, I mean, the hazard here is we're going to give teenagers ideas, but the point here is stay away from this. Don't do this thing. So what are they doing? What are teenagers in Japan doing?
Yeah, I think it's something parents need to know about. There's a new fetish it's gaining a lot of popularity there, and it's with the popularity of YouTube and everything, it's spreading like wildfire, and people need to be aware of this. They're licking eyeballs.
Licking eyeballs. Now, we're not making this up, ladies and gentlemen. It's bizarre, but they are actually doing it. They call it worming, according to the story that I've got in front of me here. Yeah. But there are some health risks involved with that, and that's why this is. I mean, it sounds bizarre, but it's actually not that humorous because there are some health risks associated with this.
Yeah, I guess what they're doing is, I guess the eyeball is extremely sensitive, a lot of nerve endings, and they're considering it a new kind of makeout, with a lot of the teenagers. But the tongue is full of bacteria, and it's spreading all kinds of stuff, pink eye, and all kinds of stuff.
Conjunctivitis and all that kind of stuff. It's called oculolinctus. Oculolinctus is what it's called, and not a good idea. Corneal scratching is also one of the risks, according to this story. All right, listen, I appreciate that, Jeff. While I've got you, I had a couple of other stories I wanted to chat with you about. Let me see if I can find my list here. This has to do with illegal immigration. I'm going to talk more about this in the second hour. But Marco Rubio was out there saying something to me, which is just kind of bizarre, about why we need to legalize illegal immigrants. And, all we've been hearing from Marco Rubio, he actually had Rush Limbaugh in a semi-swoon. Rush Limbaugh was just totally enamored with Marco Rubio. And Marco Rubio kept assuring everybody, including Rush Limbaugh, we're serious about border security. This is going to be number one. We got to get that done first. That's got to be part of the deal right up front. But then he goes to this Faith and Freedom Coalition conference that's happening this weekend and said something that kind of took me back.
Yeah, well, I've got an audio clip from it, but basically I heard him on Fox Radio the other day with Sean Hannity, and I kind of know where he's coming from, but he was very convincing. So, I mean, that's half the appeal of Marco Rubio. He's got a lot of charisma, but I think we've learned our lesson on voting for someone or supporting someone just on charisma alone. So let's listen to what he actually has to say.
You want people to come forward and be identified, undergo a background check for national security and for crimes, start paying taxes. You're going to have to pay a fine. That fine money, by the way, is what we're going to use to pay for the border security so it doesn't fall on the American taxpayer.
Did you catch that?
I mean, so he's saying, look, and I tell you, Jeff, what kind of struck me about this, and I want to get your reaction to this, is he's admitting that there's no border security in this bill. He's admitting in this that legalization is going to come first, and then we're going to fleece these illegal aliens. We're going to pick their pockets and then use the resources we get from them to take care of border security, which obviously then is coming after all of this legalization takes place.
Right. There was even a part where he said something about there's 11 million illegal aliens, and by the time that we got the fence put up, it could be as high as 15, 16 million. So he's admitting there's a problem. Now what he's doing is appealing to taxpayers, saying, look, we'll have them build their fence. They'll pay taxes. They'll pay a fine. The one thing they're not addressing is what happens if somebody does not pay the fine, does not pay the taxes, does not show that they had a job. Are they going to deport them?
And to me, it's, you're exactly right. Nobody's talking about what's going to happen if these new and improved immigration policies are ignored, if they're flouted, if they're disobeyed. There's no way in the world they're sending anybody home. There's no way in the world this administration is going to deport anybody. I mean, all we'll see on the television screens are, families being torn apart and weeping relatives at the border, and it's going to be heartrending and all that kind. There's no way anybody's getting sent home. So this whole thing to me just seems to be a sham. And and it struck me, it's just kind of desperation move on Marco Rubio's part. And now he's trying to appeal to Americans. Look, you won't even have to pay for border security. If we let all these illegals come in the country, we'll make them pay for border security. And in my mind, this is what he says. The part you alluding to: if we don't get that fine money from the people that have violated our immigration laws, then the American taxpayer is going to have to pay for border security. And I look at that and I say, fine. I'm happy to pay for border security. I don't think most American taxpayers would mind one bit paying taxes if it went to put a double-layer security fence up along our southern border.
Agreed. We've seen what happens when they put things off and give us promises. It never seems to turn out.
Well, the smoothness of Marco Rubio to me is the fact that he could kind of hoodwink Rush Limbaugh. I think Rush is a pretty shrewd guy, pretty sharp guy. But, I mean, Marco Rubio kind of totally had him played. And Rush even admitted that yesterday, that he's been played on this. He didn't mention Rubio by name, but I know that's who he was talking about. So, Rubio's a guy that you really you've got to listen to what he says. You've got to listen very carefully to what he says, because he's smooth, he's articulate, he is persuasive, and if you're not listening to the actual words that are coming out of his mouth, it'll all sound pretty good. All right, Jeff, well, listen, thank you for that information. Appreciate that. You're listening to Focal Point on AFR Talk. That's it for the first hour. Don't forget, we're taking calls, and we will in the second hour. If you'd like to honor your father in some way, 888-589-8840 is the number to call, and we'd be glad to give you an opportunity on air to say something kind about your father. The command to honor our fathers and mothers never stops until the day they die or we do. Focal Point AFR Talk, right back after the news.